Here we go. Hello, everybody. My name is Lita Abella. Welcome to my new show, What's Your Story in the New Normal? I'm an entrepreneur, health and wellness consultant, public speaker, licensed private investigator, and former LAPD lieutenant. And in between all that, I went to law school and obtained my JD. I tell stories that inform, inspire, and influence others. Today, my guest is Dennis Zine. He is a 52-year public servant with the city of Los Angeles. I can't wait to hear the stories of all this time he's been serving the community and citizens of Los Angeles. So welcome, Dennis, to my show.
Thank
First,
you.
let's start with, I know there's kind of three segments. There's your life on LAPD, then your life as a Los Angeles City Council member, and your current life as a reserve officer. So let's start with your life formally on the Los Angeles Police Department.
Well, an exciting life, a very, very blessed life, a life that I look back on and say, amazing. And thank God I'm still here to talk about it in good shape. And it was exciting. I joined the Los Angeles Police Department in 1968, August 11th, 1968. My date of entry into the LAPD, along with a number of other fellows. We were young and we wanted to save the city. Our goal was to make Los Angeles the best it could be. And that started in 1968. I went from the academy, and at that time the academy was 1 month in, 1 month out, 1 month in, 1 month out, and bam, now you're out in the field and you're an officer in the field. My first assignment was West LA Division. And West LA in those days, that's back in the early 69, 70, 71, they had 2 cars in morning watch. When you're a young rookie, you get the morning watch, which means you're working basically from midnight till 8 o'clock in the morning. And it's difficult to transition from a day type operation, going to school, or whatever the case may be, to working graveyard shift. I respect those folks that work graveyard shift. But anyway, I did that. In West LA, we had 2 cars, one east of the 405, one west of the 405, 2 cars covering the entire West LA Division, which ran from Pacific Coast Highway to La Cienega and from Mulholland down to the Santa Monica Freeway, a huge territory. But anyway, that was back in those early years. From there, I transferred different assignments. I went to motorcycle detail. I worked in the south part of Los Angeles, 77th Street Division. I made sergeant, got promoted, and then I worked all around the city on a motorcycle task force. I went through the floods. I went through the riots. I went through the earthquakes, the Olympics, the papal visit. I've seen it all from one scene to the other. I'm born and raised in Los Angeles, so being a native of the city, I've always had a love for Los Angeles. And my years with LAPD went by so quick. I did 33 years active. From there, I retired, and the next day I became a Los Angeles City Councilman, got elected to the LA City Council, and I served there for 12 years. I termed out, and since then, I've been enjoying life, still healthy, still riding my motorcycle, over 20 years riding to South Dakota on my Harley Davidson. So my life has been truly blessed, and I thank the people of Los Angeles for giving me the opportunity to serve them, to protect them in a wonderful way. And I must admit, and I want to say early in this interview, that my son Christopher followed my footsteps. He's a lieutenant with the Los Angeles Police Department. So he always inspired to be like daddy, and thank God he's there. My other son, Eric, I want to mention him. He's a pilot for Alaska Airlines, and he loves his career as an airline pilot. So thank God I got 2 great sons, and it's been a blessed life. And I've been very, very blessed. I've been shot at, and thank goodness my body was able to repel, not like Superman, but through some of the armament that we have. Anyway, I went on to be here at SIAM today as a retired, semi-retired, but still as a member of the Reserve Corps with the LAPD, where I work 16 hours a month with the LAPD. I can go on and on and on. I know the show's only 4 hours, so I'm going to take a break right now and turn it over.
Okay, that was a lot. So let me break it down.
Okay.
You mentioned that you were actually born and raised in the city of Los Angeles. So what area? I'm also a native of the city of Los Angeles. So
well, that's
what
only
area of Los Angeles are you from?
We're two of many, because most people aren't from here. I was
Correct.
born at the hospital that they just closed, St. Vincent's Hospital. I was born at St. Vincent's Hospital.
Really? In the Rampart Division?
Rampart Division. I grew up on Edinburgh, right near Fairfax and Melrose. And that's where I spent my early years of my life, Laurel Avenue School, St. Ambrose School, and Notre Dame High School in the San Fernando Valley. But my whole life's been in the city of LA, from the Hollywood area to the San Fernando Valley, where I currently live in the west San Fernando Valley.
Wow, talk about a lot in common. Now, for everybody, both Dennis and I know each other because we worked on the police department together. We didn't work the same divisions or anything, but our paths crossed in many ways, in many different functions and areas.
But you never rode a motorcycle. You were never
No,
on a motorcycle.
I was never on a motorcycle. You'll never get me on a motorcycle. You can pay me $1 million to ride a motorcycle. No, no way.
Yeah, no,
So that was very interesting. I didn't know that that was the area that you were born in, and you went to Notre Dame. My brother went to Notre Dame.
Well, both of my sons, Chris and Eric, they both went to Notre Dame High School also.
Really?
Chris
Well,
went
that's
on
very
to,
interesting.
Chris went
Yeah.
on to Moraga, St. Mary's. Eric went on to Berkeley. Eric then went to China, lived in Beijing for 4 years, speaks, reads, and writes Mandarin. I mean, I have an interesting history in my family and my wonderful 2 sons.
And one of your relatives happens to be one of my best friends.
Christy. God bless Christy.
Yes.
Man. She's
Yes.
a sweetheart. Christy.
The
She's
Maloofs.
sweet. And she spent over 30 years with LAPD in the civilian
I
capacity.
think she spent over 40 years.
I
Yes.
remember her when she was just a little kid.
Yes. She spent a long time with the department. So going back to your time on LAPD, 33 years, can you tell me about maybe one story that was probably the most memorable? And I know we have a lot.
Oh, yes.
There's a lot.
A memorable story was meeting the Pope. Meeting the Pope, I was part of the entourage when the Pope came to Los Angeles, the papal visit. I still remember that vividly when we met him at LAX at the airplane on the tarmac, escorted him all around Los Angeles, stayed with him until we took him back to the rectory at night where he slept, and then we picked him up in the morning, and there was a special corps of officers that were selected to be the entourage, the motorcade for the Pope, the papal visit. And that was probably the highlight of my career, when I remember kissing his ring, when I had the opportunity to do that as he bid farewell from LAX as he was launching into the helicopter. It was just an uplifting experience, I'll say the least. I'm a Catholic and I go to church. I believe in God, and that was probably the most highlight in my career, to be able
Do you remember the year that was? I do.
Shake the hands of the Pope and kiss the Pope's ring. I don't remember the years, but I do have the photograph. The photograph was sent to me by the Vatican.
I believe it was 1987 because I had to cancel my wedding because we could not get the time off because we were mobilized.
Right.
And even if I were able to get the time off, and my then husband, who was a police officer at the time, was able to get the time off, none of our friends could attend the wedding because everybody was mobilized for the Pope's visit. So that was a memorable event that I don't think any of us will ever forget. And we've had a lot of them. It
was fantastic. But I remember the papal visit. I remember the Olympics, working the Olympics. And what I liked about motorcycle detail, a lot of people say, oh, they're dangerous, this and that. In all my years, 18 years, I was 3 years as a police officer on a motorcycle and 15 as a sergeant. I never, thank God, had a crash, never went down, as they say. And I've always loved it. And I've been to Sturgis, South Dakota, which is an annual motorcycle rally. I've been there over 20 times, ridden from Los Angeles to Sturgis, South Dakota, Mount Rushmore and all the beautiful sights along the way and the great people in South Dakota. So, I mean, things are dangerous, but there's no question. If you have a belief in God, which I do, I have a strong belief in God. I'm a Eucharistic minister at my church, a Catholic church, and I just believe in God. And you know what? God sets out a path for you. But when I look at my career and they talk about people in law enforcement, it is a dangerous career. There's no question it's dangerous. And there's hazards that you encounter. But I've always had my faith in God and said, you know what? I look right now at my age and my condition, and I'm still walking, still talking, still riding a motorcycle, and still having a good time. So I say I'm very blessed. I'm not arrogant about it. I am very blessed. But everything from the Olympics, the papal visit, the fires that we've had, the devastating fires. I can remember one night on Victory Boulevard, right on Haskell, Victory and Haskell, when the Van Norman Dam was going to burst. And we had to evacuate the entire San Fernando Valley down to Victory Boulevard. I still remember standing there at an intersection, freezing with my partner, keeping people out of the area because they thought the Van Norman Dam was going to burst and the entire San Fernando Valley would be flooded. I'll never forget that experience. But when I look at that memory and I think about all the times, all the experiences, all the good times, the sad times, the services, the funerals for officers who passed away, co-partners that passed away, it just, breaks my heart. But all in all, Dennis P. Zine is still here, thank God.
Yes, yes. So transitioning to your role as a Los Angeles City Council member, what led you to that role, and tell us about that?
No, that's an interesting story. After the riot, Los Angeles, what they want to call it, civil disobedience, unrest, or riot, whatever they want to call it, I don't want to be politically correct. The bottom line is the city was burning to the ground. I went on ABC 7, and it just happened I was riding down the street on my motorcycle, Channel 7 eyewitness news truck pulled alongside of me. Henry Alfaro was sitting as the passenger and said, "Hey, Dennis, how you doing?" I said, "Oh, I am so upset, blah, blah, blah." He said, pull over, pull over. I pulled over, he got the cameraman out, and we went to town. And I laid off on the mayor, the city council, all the people who were attacking the police, criticizing the police. I mean, I laid off on all of them. No one was defending the police for trying to do what they needed to do to protect society, to protect Los Angeles. That launched me into a political career. That was simply aired at 4 o'clock on the Channel 7 Eyewitness News. I still have the copy of that, and it launched me into the career as a city councilman.
What? Are you serious? That's how that started? So it wasn't that this was something that you were looking forward to, you were thinking about, this is how you were going to transition?
No, I had no intention of retiring. I said I was going to stay on the job, thank God, as long as I could perform as a police officer, as a sergeant. I had no intention of retiring, but that launched me into a career in the political arena. So from there, I went to city council. I did 12 years. Prior to that, I was elected.
What area did you serve as a city council member? What area did you serve?
The West San Fernando Valley, 3rd District, West San Fernando Valley, basically from Balboa to Valley Circle and Mulholland Drive to Roscoe. That was the basic geography at that particular time. The boundaries have changed. Every 10 years they do the redesign, they do the census, and they realign the areas. But anyway, it was the Southwest Valley. So I served there for 12 years, very pleased, very enjoyed. I stayed as a reserve officer the entire time. So basically, I never left the LAPD from the time I entered in 1968, 1168. But prior to 1168, I was a student worker. While I was going to school, I joined the student worker program. So that gave me an entry into the department. And it just all evolved. It's like you see a flower blossom. That's exactly what happened. It just blossomed. It blossomed from the law enforcement. People said, "You really stand up for what's right. You have principles. You have ethics. You have value." And I said, "You know what? If they wanted me to be a public official, I will be." Well, lo and behold, I did 3 wonderful terms, 12 years total. You can do. When I first elected, it was 2 4-year terms. Then they extended it to 3 4-year terms. And it was just a wonderful experience. I enjoyed the opportunity.
So tell me, your role as a city council member. So did you find that being a politician, you had your hand tied in some respects? Were you able to get everything accomplished, your goals and objectives that you had for your constituents?
Well, I was very outspoken as a city councilman. I was not aligning with the Republicans, the Democrats. The city council is a nonpartisan. Most of them were Democrats. I was registered at that time as a Republican, but I was always going by what was good for the people. If it was good for business, I'd be supportive. If it was good for the taxpayers, I'd be supportive. But I didn't have to hold on to any special group because I had the confidence to know I'm there to do what I need to do for the people of Los Angeles. And my law enforcement career gave me that foundation. So with the LAPD background, public service as the background, it really served as a joint purpose of helping the people. So I was the chair of the public safety. I was the chair of the personnel committee. I sat on public safety and a number of the other committees that we have in city council. They have 15 council members, and I did that consistently for the 12 years. I don't even think I had a sick day in the 12-year period of time that I was on the council, but I enjoyed the work. I enjoyed working with people. So I was out there reaching out to people, and the motto was, we're here to serve you. That's our goal, to serve you. You got issues, you got concerns, you got problems. We're here to serve you. We're here to serve the community. I formed my posse, community posse, and what I did is I brought folks in from the community, and we gave them a training class and said, if there are problems in your community, these are the resources that we have at your disposal to correct those problems, whether it be abandoned cars or the trash or whatever the case may be, graffiti. As times have gone over the years, now we have a huge homeless population, which we didn't have at that particular time here in the West Valley. But those basic quality of life issues we worked on with the community, and we were very successful and resolved a lot of issues. And it'd be approachable. I was approachable. I don't care if you were having a bar mitzvah, a bat mitzvah, a funeral, whatever you were having, I was invited, I would be there 7 days a week. That was my commitment. That was my goal, to let the community know I was there for them. And it didn't matter where you were from. You're here in the city of LA, you're in my district, I'll be there. I'll be supporting your causes and will.
What would you say your biggest accomplishment was in your 12-year term as an LA City Council member?
Well, challenging the system, I think, was my biggest accomplishment. Challenging the system that would waste taxpayers' money. That was something that I really prided myself. When people tried to get these lucrative pensions on scams, when people tried to defraud the system, when LAX was wasting money, different things like that. I was always watchful and always the watchdog when it came to government waste. And I looked at that and I said, you know what, this isn't right. And I would going to challenge it, and I did. I also want to say that during my 12 years, I donated over $300,000 of my own money to nonprofits in the community. So nonprofits came to me and they said, well, we need 5K, here you go, here you go, here you go. That wasn't city money, that was money, that was my money that I earned. And I would utilize that as my support financially for the community, not just in words, but in action and deeds.
Excellent. Wasn't there another former LAPD person on the city council when you were on the council? Wasn't Bernie Parks on there at the same time?
Chief Parks, yes. When he didn't get his second term as chief, James Hahn, the mayor, decided he was not going to get a second term. Chief Parks ran for city council, got elected to the city council, and he was a council member. And we sat on the same side. The room was divided into two sections, and we were on the same side, a couple of chairs from each other.
And which mayors did you serve under during your tenure?
Well, I served under Jimmy Hahn, Antonio Villaraigosa. Those are the two mayors, Jimmy Hahn and Antonio Villaraigosa. James Hahn's now a judge, and Antonio Villaraigosa, I don't know what he's doing. I know he got remarried, and I don't know what he's doing. I still have a good rapport with him. I still highly respect the man. I know he ran for governor. I think he would have been an excellent governor, at least in my opinion. He was always there trying to take care of the people. For
somebody who has an idea as to wanting to go into politics, would you recommend this to a young person as something they can do as a public servant?
Well, it's like law enforcement. You know, people say, oh, I want to go and I want to get in a pursuit. I want to fly a helicopter. I want to work SWAT team. I want to work the dive team. You got to know what you're going into before you jump into it. So, I mean, police work's not for everyone. As you know, your experience in the LAPD, and you've seen it from a perspective that you've been there. I've been there. My son's been there. He loves it. You love that. You know, that's a calling for us. The same thing in politics. You know, politics can be a pretty nasty environment. As you see what's happening now with the Democrats, the Republicans, the infighting, the bickering, the this and that. I've always looked at unity in the community, working together for the people. The people are paying money. So when you want to get into the political environment, it's not support this cause or that cause, it's support the people. And I think that if you do a lot of inquiry and you go into poli-sci and say, yeah, I really have a calling for this. I know as a little kid, I always wanted to be a police officer. Jack Webb, Adam 12, Poncherello, CHP, you know, I've always liked that. I'm one of these individuals that likes excitement, likes adventure. I could not sit at a desk all day and push paper. That is just not me. You were a lieutenant. You like pushing paper. I hated pushing paper.
That's not necessarily true, Dennis, just because I was a lieutenant.
Most lieutenants push.
I wasn't a lieutenant the entire 20 years I was there.
No, I know. No, you were there. You started like, you know, we started as a rookie cop and work our way up. But, you know, when you're in politics, there's such a diverse group. And if you look at the city of LA, we are so diverse from one end of the city to the other, east and west. You got the west side, Pacific Palisades, Brentwood, Bel Air. You got South Central, you got 77th, you got Newton. I mean, you've got San Pedro, you've got so many different areas, and different demands and different needs and different wants. If you're Westchester, the LAX demands and the impact on the residents and the businesses. So it's got to be a calling that you really have a flavor for and know how to work with people. The biggest thing I think is finding that opportunity to pull people together. Say, okay, how do we solve this problem together? How do we make it work? Right now, you see this huge development taking place in Los Angeles. Everywhere you look, they're building apartments and condos, maybe a single family residence here or there. But people who are invested in this community, they just want to see it work well for everyone. They don't want to see the homeless. They don't want to see the crime. They don't want to see the violence. Right now, we're going through this pandemic, and how long is this going to last? I heard recently it's going to last 3 more months lockdown for LA County. I don't know if we can.
And that was going to be my next question. You working as a reserve officer now. So tell us, one, what division are you working? And two, what can you tell us, because you're on the front lines from a law enforcement perspective, as to where are we with this pandemic?
Well, we're in a pandemic. I don't think we're better off now than when we began the lockdown. But as far as a police officer, my current assignment is G&D, Gang Narcotics Division, and I'm assigned to the fugitive warrant, the fugitive warrant detail, seeking fugitives who are fleeing justice. And bench warrants are issued by the courts. We then try to apprehend those individuals, put them back into the criminal justice system. But what's happening now, and I really think it's bad for the taxpayers and the honest, good citizens, is people aren't even getting booked. They'll commit a crime and they'll get arrested. They'll fill out the paperwork, they meaning the officers, and they say, okay, you're due in court in 2 months from now. Okay, right. They throw the slip of paper, they don't go. There's going to be warrants all over the system. You're going to find people with warrants all over the place. But I predict crime's going to get worse. It's not going to get better because these people commit.
Well, let me ask you this. You're saying that they're not getting booked. Criminals are not getting booked. Why are criminals not getting booked? Why are they being cited and released?
Because they're saying the virus, the coronavirus, contagious, they don't want to incarcerate them. And there was a recent story that in LA County Jail, they spit on each other so they can get this virus and hopefully get released, because the state has released people and the city has released people, the county has released people. They try not to put anyone in jail. And they're saying people have been arrested multiple times for the same offense, whether it's stealing a car or breaking in. And when people look at violent crime, they think violent crime, someone comes up with a gun or a knife. The problem is between the voters and the legislature, they have watered down so many crimes. For example, shoplift. If you're a shopkeeper and someone comes in and steals from you and they steal $300 worth of merchandise, unless it's $950 total, it really doesn't account for much. So you got shoplifting out of control. You got all these people who are saying, police do something. The police say, wait, you folks voted for these measures. State legislature voted for these measures. And now what we have is basically become a lawless society. And it's sad, but it used to be if you commit petty theft, you get a petty theft after that. Petty with a prior is a felony. It has to be over $950. And that's a lot of goods you have to steal to get up to $950. So we have situations where, and you'll see it on TV news now and then, where kids go into a store and they'll basically take anything and everything in sight, thousands of dollars in merchandise. How are you going to apprehend them? How are you going to find them? So the crimes continue, but we've watered it down. We've watered it down so much that it doesn't have much impact anymore. So I feel for the shopkeepers that have to contend with that. And if a security officer gets involved and tries to apprehend the individual and an altercation ensues, then all of a sudden there's a huge lawsuit. So the bottom line is people aren't as safe as they think they're safe when it comes to property and people who are stealing their property.
And this is because the voters voted for these watered down laws, as to why a lot of criminals are being cited and released. So we need to educate the community. We need to educate the public as to this is what you voted for and look where we are now. I mean, this is ridiculous.
For example, the drugs. If you're into drugs, you used to go to jail and try and get clean. Well, now you don't have to do anything. So Prop 47, 57, and Measure 109, those three combined sold a bill of goods to the people of the state of California, and they voted, and the state legislature voted. For example, if someone breaks in your car is locked, the windows are up, the car is locked. Someone breaks the window, steals something in your car, whatever the case may be. The courts have said, because of the law, you as a victim have to prove it was locked. Well, how am I going to prove it's locked when they broke in the window, obviously they broke in the window because the car wasn't locked. The laws have become so convoluted and so absurd, the victims are totally unaware, but they get sold a bill of goods, and you got people who are out touting about this and that and the other. And I'll do a political thing right here about Jackie Lacey, who's the current DA of LA County. She does a great job. And a person, George Gascon, who wants to take her seat, was the author, and he was the DA in San Francisco, and he was the chief in San Francisco. And San Francisco's a disaster, and he just wants to bring that same mentality to Los Angeles. So what we need is...
And unfortunately with George Gascon, he also was from our department.
Yes, he was. Somehow he drank poison somewhere along the line. I don't know what happened to him. He was a good guy. All of a sudden, he comes in with this new environment of, we're going to relax all the laws. Well, you relax all the laws, no one's responsible for anything. All you have is more victims, and then they don't take a crime report because the value's not that much. It's pathetic. And the people are suffering. They don't realize it until they become the victim. But I can tell you, in my years of law enforcement, I wasn't always concerned about being a victim when I walked out on the street or got in my car, rode my motorcycle. But now I'm always considered, you know what? I don't want to be a victim. And I'm going to do what I need to do to protect myself so I don't become a victim. And it's sad that we have to resort to that in this day and age when we're such a sophisticated society. But there are some cities that have drones flying over, checking everybody. I mean, we don't want to have Big Daddy watching everything we do, but at the same time, let's take care of the bad people meaning criminal element, put them away and separate them from the good people. Child molesters who are getting released. They've molested little children. They're getting released from jail. That's absurd.
It's
all
disgusting.
It's the same thing again.
Yes, I mean, it's disgusting when we see and hear about these hardcore criminals who are violent. I mean, anybody who does anything, any type of criminal activity to a child,
right,
is ridiculous. That person should not be released from prison.
And they just released a number of them from Orange County, and the DA in Orange County, Todd Spitzer, who used to be a reserve LAPD, he was saying this is outrageous. But because of this coronavirus, oh, we don't want to have it spread, so we're going to release these people. And they're getting released, which is, well, all they're going to do is go back to the same thing they're used to doing, committing crime. So whether you're a shoplifter, a burglar, a robber, a rapist, I don't care what you are, the fact of the matter is, you do the crime, you're going to do the time. But no, now we've relaxed everything. We've relaxed it so much that the poor innocent victims are the ones that have no one to turn to. When they break into people's cars and steal their goods, break in their apartments, break in their homes, accost them, carjacking, you name it, it doesn't end. And that's the problem, is we've lost responsibility, the sense of responsibility. It's like the homeless. I feel bad for the homeless, but you know what? They weren't born that way. And maybe they're drugs, they should go to a drug center. Maybe they're mentally ill, they should go to mental health. Don't let them live on the street, because then they infect everyone else.
Right.
The rats and the cockroaches and the vermin, they just attract and they destroy neighborhoods. So I have compassion for people, but at the same time, I've also got concern for the taxpayers. We're paying large taxes and getting lousy service from the municipality that they may live.
Right. I totally understand where you're coming from, Dennis. And, you know, like I said, I've been there on the police department. I've seen it. I'm seeing it now in our community. So we're just about at time's up right now, but I wanted to thank you.
Wait, I thought we're on all afternoon. What's the story?
No, I want to thank you so much for your time and just giving us a little brief window of opportunity to get to know you and how you've served the citizens of Los Angeles for the past 52 years. And thank you for your service. And to my viewers, make sure you stay tuned for next week's episode. And until then, please stay safe, stay home, stay healthy, and stay positive. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Dennis. Take care.